All right, so thank you so much, Father Gregory Boyle. You're affectionately known as Father G. And how are you?
I'm good. I'm doing fine.
So anyhow, I first heard about you because an ex-girlfriend would talk about you a lot. She went to when you were, I guess, the pastor in Dolores Mission.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then her brothers would talk about you because one of her brothers came out of the military and you helped him get a job. And
Okay.
so you're just always helping a lot of people. Her name's Sochi, and then her brother is George, and then Michael.
Well, Jimenez.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah. Oh, sure, sure. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you
They
have
were.
an
They
acute
they went
memory.
to Dolores Mission School as little kids. I was there from. I first arrived in '84, uh, and then I was there summer of '84, summer of '85, and then '86 to '92 I was pastor. So they were little munchkins
Yeah.
back then.
So because of my ex's influence, I picked up your book, Tattoos on the Heart, and I read it. And I have so many things to say. I don't know where to begin. I'm excited and I'm honored to have you with me for this interview. But I think I speak for everybody when I say thank you for all of the philanthropy that you extend and exercise, because this is a world that needs it, and you're one of the fighting forces that pushes the balance toward love, and that's the ultimate goal. And so it's what we need right now. And soldiers like you who just go out there and make it happen. You're the verb in the universe. Some people are nouns and they're there, but you take action. You're the verb, and it's what the universe needs and what the universe appreciates.
Well, thank you. You're kind.
So I have a couple of questions jotted down. So let's see. Um, you said a couple of things in tattoos on the heart, and one of them is that anger is the language of the hurt. And another one that stuck out to me was that all we can do for these individuals who aren't awake or who haven't found their path in the light is to wait, is just to have that patience. How have you been in this business of loving so long and have maintained all this patience?
Oh, I don't know how patient I am, but yeah, I mean, at Homeboy, we want to train ourselves not to be uh, toppled by bad behavior, so people can throw down in the parking lot, and it's not like, oh my God, people are being bad. It's a language. What language is gang violence speaking? It's the language of despair and mental illness and trauma. And so you want to get underneath. The homies always say, you have to find the thorn underneath, and that God knows how to find the thorn. And so we're always invited to find the thorn. Part of the problem in the world today, I think, is that we misdiagnose things. We look at stuff and we go, oh, that's what it is. And usually it isn't. It's everything is about something else. So the trick is to find the something else. So you want to be patient about that and try to find the thorn underneath so you can actually heal, be a part of the healing that people are invited to. Um, but we're always kind of naming. The problem is how we name things. We think this thing is, just bad guys doing bad things, and you go, oh no, well, what if it's traumatized people? And what if we try to help people transform their pain so they don't have to inflict it anymore? So all those things are more sophisticated. That you roll up your sleeves and you try to understand with love what's really going on for a person, as opposed to be tripped up by behavior. So, we don't want to do that. Homies always say also that, I was always, uh, what was the thing? For me, anger was always one letter away from danger, and so if they can understand that, then they can be, patient with themselves.
Yeah. Wow, that's wonderful. Um, and I started perusing your book again, and you never read the same book twice, and there's always new insights. And I was trying to find these quotes that real they were they had their profound moments, and I wanted to address them. And as I was reading through, it became abundantly clear that through your full immersion of this endeavor to help individuals on their path of healing, boy, you really went in there. You really went into the neighborhoods. And that's, I don't know if that's unprecedented, but I know that it's something that you're kind of like a lifeline to people. And I know my cousin, he right now he works with you. He works with Homeboy Industries. He told me about your guys' guacamole. And
Who, who's your cousin?
Lenny.
Oh, I love Lenny.
Yeah.
Alvarado.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. No, he's great. He's a real leader. Everybody respects him there.
We grew up together all our lives. Same home. Same
Yeah.
home. I joined the United States Navy, and then afterward, I graduated from Cal State Long Beach. I'm an educator, a high school English teacher right now. Same homes, but we went different paths, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So
In fact, I have a picture of him on my wall here. Him and his homegirl, who both, work at Homeboy, and it's them in the middle in front of the homegirl cafe. And then I don't know how he did this, but superimposed on either side is Lenny as a little mocosito when he first got into the neighborhood, and this Inez when she first got into the neighborhood. And it's kind of magical. And he put it in a frame and gave it to me. So it's on my wall right over there.
nice, nice. So I want to say thank you because Lenny and I, of course, with his path, not ever kind of crossing orbits with mine, and us having no real coincidence. We didn't get to really see each other as adults, unfortunately. And so meeting him again last year, he mentioned you, and we were chopping it up, and it was nice. And you always end up popping up in my life. Like this happens a lot, like some form of synchronicity. And I'll tell you a little bit about that as we close this interview. But I have a couple of things, and this is one thing I know, like when we're self-promoting our healing and we're going through our awareness, the forgiveness aspect. I would love for you to give some insights on maybe how it could be easier to forgive, or maybe waking up to the power of forgiveness.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that because I just finished my third book. I just turned it in. And in it, I mentioned a story where I was in Florida and I was signing books. And a guy came up to have a book signed, and he says, I've read both your books, and you don't mention forgiveness. And I thought about it, and I go, I think you're right. And I think one of the reasons was, as I kind of examined it, is that forgiveness is always waiting for something. Forgiveness is waiting for an apology. And so the why settle for forgiveness when we can have mercy? So if you go to the prodigal son, um, the father sees the kid and goes running to him, and it doesn't say, "Okay, I'm waiting. What's your apology?" And the son has a fake ass apology. I am not worthy to be your. And the father kind of puts his hand over the mouth and says, "Chale ni mangos. I don't care two toots about that. You're home. You're alive. You were dead, but now you're not. Oh my God, let's kill the fatted calf and have a pachanga." So So that's the God doesn't wait for apologies. And God doesn't settle for forgiveness because he's holding out for mercy. So mercy is better than forgiveness. So I think part of the problem is a lot of times, whatever it is, inside you go, I can't forgive my father. I can't forgive my mother or my brother or whatever it is. And it just means we're holding on to some grievance and some pain that we're kind of refusing to transform, because if you don't transform your pain, you're just going to keep inflicting it. So you want to move beyond even the expectation of forgiveness, because I don't know, for me it's not enough, to just kind of say, hey, I apologize for what I did, and okay, I accept your apology. And it's just, we're invited to find our true selves in loving. And so it's all about loving all the time. And it's not waiting for anything. Like, I won't love you until you apologize to me for what you did. And it's like, no, move to mercy quickly, because that's where
Wow.
joy is. The joy is in the merciful, and not in cleaning the slate. Okay, I apologize to him, she apologized to me, he still hasn't apologized. But there is no apology, really. I mean, there's no expectation of apology. And the son practices his speech because he's hungry, not because he's sorry. And so it just doesn't matter to the father. Apologize, don't apologize. All I know is my love for you is total, and you're home. And that's all I care about. So
That's monumental because it usually in all of the teachings, you'll you will come across at some juncture the imperative of forgiveness, and now to hear to let's we can even forego that, and focus on the mercy. Let's give emphasis
well,
on.
Jesus will say, the apostles say, how many times should I apologize or forgive, rather?
Yeah.
And 7 times 70, well, no, 70 times 70. It's like, it's a lot. But it's mainly mercy. It's really about mercy. And but I think once we get stuck in the forgiveness dynamic, I suppose part of our own healing is, it's not so much forgiving, your father for what he did. It's you end up, that's why the understanding love is deeper, because then you go, oh, they were doing the best they could. And then you start to stand in awe at what folks had to carry.
Yeah.
That happens a lot with the homies, where they kind of look back and say, there's a homie I know whose mom, and I've written about it, used to put cigarettes out on him
Ooh.
and hold his head in the toilet and flush till he nearly drowned. And she chained him to the backyard for one entire summer, like a dog. Big long chain where he could move around, but he never came in the house for the whole summer, until his stepfather told her, you can't do that. And he came into the house, he was 9 years old, and then he ran away from home and never looked back. So part of the thing is, a lot of anger, she tortured him. But he's now at a place where he can go, oh, she was mentally ill. And this anguish was nothing she ever chose. It chose her. And then suddenly he can move beyond forgiveness, and get quickly to mercy, which is a more spacious, expansive place to live, where there's room, you know and he doesn't have to nurse his hurt and his pain anymore, because he sees, oh, she was doing the best she could. It was horrible, but she was mentally ill and she had a kid and she had no business, having one, I guess. But anyway, I just think that that's part of how people grow and heal is they move beyond hurt
Yeah.
and get to this other place of just presume that the answer to every question is compassion. And then you kind of go, oh, all right, people are carrying a lot.
Got it. Very, very interesting. This is so significant. Maybe even a paradigm shift to say, yeah, why focus on that forgiveness? When I was reading your book, something came to mind because you mentioned my father and my mother, they're both from East Los Angeles and they were both in neighborhoods. My mom was from Garrity and my dad was from Arizona. And I was wondering, I wonder if Father G knows my parents. And it was something that I've always want to ask. My father did some work with GVRP, Gang Violence Reduction Project, in the 80s.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, they called him Squire from Arizona, Montevilla.
I'm
And
sure I met him because in those days, that was under the umbrella of the,
CYA, California Youth Authority.
yeah. But then there was CYGA, which is, it was gang intervention. I can't remember,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
but I'm sure he was a part of that. I used to know all those guys back in the day, you know.
They still talk about you. Everybody mentions, say, everybody in my life, you have been some sort of synchronicity where people were guiding me your way and talking to me uh, about you, mentioning you, like in idle conversation, maybe tangential conversation, but you were always floating about. Your name was coming here and there, and it's so interesting to that just, and that's what I was telling you. I have so many things to ask you and so much to comment. But okay, we're in a faculty meeting and we're addressing the issues right now with getting students to engage. And there's a lot of students who are failing, unfortunately. They're not feeling the online education. And we read an article that says, okay, the increments between an A and a B is 10 points, and from a B to a C is 10 points, and from et cetera, et cetera. But from an F to a D is 59 points. And we were addressing that disparity, and it's a true disparity. It's a calculated disparity. And so we were saying, if we were on a 0 to 4 point scale, right? A 0 would be a fail, 1, 2, 3, 4, a DC, etc. To trying to maybe institute some equity and perhaps leading with compassion. And a lot of educators immediately, they found it as though they were creating maybe an injustice by doing that. And I was one individual who said, I kind of already exercise that. When I give a student a fail because they didn't submit their work, I don't give them a 0 fail. I give them a 40% fail. And so a fail is still a fail, but they're just not so far back that they're not going to be able to catch up. And if I have to sit down with the parents, I tell them, look, I adjust my grading policies in favor of your child because I want your child to get when they get the motivation, they find the wherewithal and inspiration to go out and make it happen for themselves, get the credit, and then go beyond. And there was some problems with that. And then and reading your book and knowing that you premise your life, the power of boundless compassion, about leading with compassion, about addressing maybe concerns, incidences with compassion. Why do you think for some individuals that's a struggle?
That's a struggle to do what? To be compassionate?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's all about welcoming your own wound, and that if you don't welcome your own wound, you're going to be tempted to despise the wounded. And you see that all the time. If people haven't done their own work, then they're very quick to say off with their heads rather than, well, let's get behind this. I wonder what this is. Remember, I had a homie who was a senior staff who we were talking in a group, we were talking about a trainee, a homie, and he says, you know what his problem is? He thinks his shit don't stink. And then another homie in the group, a senior staff, said, no, all he smells is stink. So it's the two kind of, one kind of thinks he's you know, cutting through the mess, and you know, he may pull the wool over your eyes, but not over mine. I know I got his number. Well, that's actually somebody who's a stranger to himself. He hasn't done the work. So he's quick to kind of saying, you know, he's pulling a fast one. But the other guy had done all the work. So he had more room in his heart. And he didn't despise the wounded. He recognized his wound in this kid. Said, no, you know, all he smells is stink. And it was his way of saying, you know, respond with compassion, but you can't do it if you're a stranger to yourself, if you haven't done the work, you know, because at Homeboy, we always say, if you're in pain, you point. And it's scapegoating and it's blame and it's, you know what his problem is? I'll tell you what his problem is. You don't see it, but I see it. No, that's, you know, that's a sign that you haven't yet done all the work that you need to do. And so that's the invitation. But the teacher who kind of has no patience for the kid and you know, sees troublemakers instead of kids who are wounded, you know, that's just because they haven't made friends with their own wound. And that's why it's so essential to do the work. You know, at Homeboy, when trainees throw down, which happens every once in a while, you know, and then they'll sit them down, you know, before the pandemic, they'd bring them into my office, they'd sit them down, the homies who run the place. And they'll say, you know what happened? He took you to that place, which is an expression they always use. He took you to that place. And you know why he took you to that place? You haven't done the work. So you can tell when people have done the work, you know, and whatever that means, which is to come to terms with what was done to you as a kid, come to terms with what you've done. Look at it, you know, lean into it, be curious about it, feel the pain of it, but then start to savor it, start to relish it, and then kind of say, yeah, that's who I am, that's what happened to me. And then you can move on. That's what doing the work looks like. And then you can recognize, you know, people who are in pain, not behavior problems. These are people who are wounded. So if you're friends with your wound, you can see it in others.
That's absolutely fascinating. The, the entire psychology of that. It makes so much sense. I have a cousin and she has a psychology major. She also mentioned you. She said one time she attended, maybe you went and presented at a facility for all girls or whatnot, and they started throwing down too, and you were there. And my cousin's name, her name is Regina Ortega. I don't know if you met her, but she was working with individuals. But you said something similar to what I've heard her say, where she says, your parents, I'm sure they loved you the best they knew how. And always
Yeah.
giving people the benefit of the doubt instead of saying you're trying to pull one over on me, and being quick to just be getting on the defensive.
But things
Wow.
are indicators, are indicators of something else. It's like in 19th century medical history, all these people were dying, and they didn't know what to do, but they did everything they knew to do. Doctors, medicines, hospitals, nurses, nothing worked. People still were dying. And then all of a sudden, way over here, quite inadvertently, somebody addressed the water supply and the sewer system. And once they did, what happened to these diseases? Well, they disappeared because the diseases were about something else. So the thing with your students or with the homies is always find the something else. There's something else. So in the 80s, when we were all dealing with gang issues, late 80s, um, people go, by God, we're going to deal with this head on. So they had, what year were you born?
77.
So this would have been, probably 90, and so they had Operation Hammer and Chief Gates, and it was kind of wipe them out, and by God, we're going to deal with gang violence head on. Well, but gang violence was about something else. So good luck with that. That won't work. And of course it didn't. It didn't work because gang violence was because kids couldn't imagine a future for lots of reasons.
Wow.
And kids couldn't conjure up an image of what tomorrow is for lots of reasons. And if you're a traumatized kid, you're more likely to cause trauma. It's how it works. But a cherished kid will be able to find their way to cherishing others. And Homeboy is about cherishing people. So gang violence was about something else. But people always pat themselves on the back because they go, well, we're going to deal, oh, baby, we're dealing with this head on. And everybody goes, whoa, you are brave and you're smart and you're wise. And I always say, good luck with that. Because simply put, everything is about something else. So if you watch somebody whose behavior is alarming, and then you think you know what it is, but trust me, it's about pain, it's about wound. And so if gang violence was about a lethal absence of hope, so what do? Smash them down? No, you infuse hope into people and kids and communities where hope is foreign. That's what you do. But it's taken a long time for society to come to that, and they still want to deal with these things head on, even though you really should deal with them underneath. Find out what's really going on. What does it indicate?
that takes time and work. That takes the work.
Yeah, it does. You don't want to fall for stuff. But that as a teacher, if you have a kid who acts out outrageously, you don't go, this is a bad kid. You don't. I know you don't, because I already can see your soul, in your heart. I already know you. You look at that and you go, wow, that kid must be in a great deal of pain, because even though it's inconvenient, even though that kid has disrupted your class, and there's nothing wrong with that, he's a pain in the ass, and that's for sure, but that there's something up with that kid. And if you left a 5-year-old in a classroom all by himself and said, I'll be right back, and when you came back, he had destroyed the room and he had smeared his feces on the wall, and there's nobody on the planet, I don't care what level of education you'd have, nobody would want to punish that kid or ostracize that kid. Every human being whether you went to school or not, would say, wow, that kid's in pain. I wonder what's going on with that kid. Nobody would want to banish him. They wouldn't. Now we can do that with a 5-year-old, but somehow we can't do it with a 25-year-old. And it's really the same thing, you know. And in LA, they have a campaign in the mental health department. None of us are well until all of us are well. And so it's about wellness. It's about people becoming whole and healthy and well and integrated and loving. And and I hope for the time when we want that for each other, rather than banish people or incarcerate our way out of this, or us and them, you don't belong to us, you know.
This is so fascinating. And I feel so appreciative for you to even give these insights. I can't wait to read is your new book already out?
Well, I have two books, Tattoos on the Heart and Barking to the Choir.
Uh-huh. And you said that third one.
But the third one I just turned into my editor. So
Okay.
it's supposed to come out October 19th.
I can't wait. It's already read. I can't wait for that. And you're part of a curriculum with LAUSD. Well, not just LAUSD, other school districts, and I'm sure you already know about this because we have a reading intervention program called Read 180, and
Yeah.
I taught this out Southgate High School. And then I saw it had an article. What they really want to do is they anthologize high interest articles, reading materials, things that are going to engage the kids, so to eliminate that boredom factor. And then it shows an article about Homeboy Industries, and then it has an article, comprehension questions, and then maybe some further analysis questions, but things that get the kids engaged. So you were part of the Read 180 program, part of the curriculum, and just individuals coming in and out of my life saying, hey, Father G, Father G, Father G, mentioning you from my ex, whom I had a child with, by the way. And George would speak so highly of you. He would say, it was always Father G. In that household, trust me, your name came up every time they got together. So you are loved and appreciated. And this is old news. I'm pretty sure you know this, but you really prepared me to even become a teacher, because reading this book and being explicit about how the only thing we can do is wait for them to jump on board. I've learned as a teacher not to close that door, to be patient. So when they decide to engage and they wake up and say, hey, maybe it'll be a worthwhile endeavor for me to complete my assignments or to write this narrative or this argument and to maybe pay attention in class, I don't shut that possibility down. And it's because of people like you. So your influence, I don't know how profound and how strong your influence is in this world, but boy, you've done a lot for more than just the communities that you think around the Los Angeles area, because it spreads around. My cousin did tell me, though, you do fly to other states and you have like little seminars or conferences, you guys speak to people and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm sure I don't think I took Lenny out of state, but I think he came with me once to speak in Orange County, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I used to be on a plane 3 times a week.
Wow.
But I haven't been on a plane since middle of March.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. So I do a lot of, tomorrow I'm speaking at Harvard.
Oh, wow.
But on a Zoom, and so there's, and, and then I tape a lot of things, I just did 2 talks for Hawaii. I'd rather actually go there, but oh well.
Yeah.
So, so I gave a keynote and a workshop, and and I just, so it's not very satisfying. I don't, I like having an audience. I like kind of hearing people laugh and people, and then you can feel like, hey, they're with you. It's like preaching,
Yeah.
at a mass or something, because which I've done lots of, whatever you call it, live stream or even taped masses, but it's not very satisfying because it's you all alone talking to your computer. Oh well, I mean, that's all we can do for now. You mentioned, what was that thing called, Reader 180?
It's called Read 180.
Read 180. But I've heard about that a lot over the years, and I've seen it. I've actually seen it, but I think that's almost 30 years old now.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
article, so they need to update their Read 180, because
Let's make that happen.
yeah, because that's really a kind of and I love the idea to, let's get stories that kids are going to engage with.
Yeah.
But now that you mention it, I think it's 25 years old, or 30 maybe.
Yeah, I've been in education for a long time. The
Yeah,
vast majority of
and I think they still use it, but it's kind of old. They need to update.
Yeah. Well, I'm super excited. I can't wait for the new arrival of your book. It gives me something to look forward to. And I thank you so much. I've been reaching out, trying to get a hold of you and make
Yeah,
this
I know.
happen.
I can't remember what all happened, but life happened. I'm so honored to know you, and I hope that we will continue to stay in touch. And you have my email, and I presume my cell phone, so through my assistant. So I'm happy to help in any way.
Likewise, and vice versa. If you need anything from me, if I can, I will. And thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, Father Gregory Boyle. You just do so much, and keep doing that. It took me a long time to tell people this. I didn't know how to allow it to come out of my mouth, but God bless you.
He, thank you, Richard. You've made my whole day. So you stay well, and I look forward to knowing you for a long time. I'll say hi to Lenny, and if you talk to any of the Jimenezes, I haven't seen them in a while, say que huele for me.
I sure will. Thank you so much.
Ándale pues.
Okay, bye-bye.